In this video, we'll be covering Chapter 16 on lamb. Lamb is the meat of sheep that are slaughtered when they are less than a year old. If they are more than a year old, then they are considered and marketed as mutton, meaning that it would be a tougher and definitely more flavorful cut of meat. Lamb in itself is naturally tender, being again of a young age, and the idea that there's not excessive activity in that amount of time. So really lamb can be prepared by just about any cooking method. It does have a very distinct, strong flavor. So when you're pairing it with items like a roasted red pepper coulis or a really strong cherry port sauce, very strong, robust flavors go well with the lamb. In regards to nutrition, lamb definitely, again, is a high-quality protein. In regards to being economical, I do find that it's pretty pricey, so I'm not sure how your textbook looks at it being an economical choice, but it is a good source, again, of a high-quality protein. It is leaner and lower in cholesterol than some other red meat, and again, a good source of iron. It does have less marbling, but again, being of a young age and tender, it still is a great product and doesn't necessarily require as much of that interior fat to add the flavor and juiciness. Here are your primal cuts of lamb. There are 5 main primals when we're talking about lamb. We have the shoulder area, again, commonly called. The rack instead of the rib. We still have the loin, and we still have the leg on the back end. The forearm and the underbelly is considered the breast. Here is a specific primal cut that I wanted to show you. The rib or rack section here. Taking that apart and splitting it into 2 is what you see over here. Every rack has 8 bones on it in a lamb rack. So when you're ordering, you will always get 8 bones, but it'll come by the ounces of the entire rack. You can see here, these are what's labeled as French racks, meaning that the excess connective tissue and meat on the end of the bones has been removed, perfectly clean. That's part of presentation. On the bottom here, you can see the crown roast. This is where you would take the entire rack, wrap it around, and cook it whole like that. A lot of times you'll see the little chef hats or little paper pom-poms on the tips there. Here are some retail cuts, similar again as you've seen in the other videos, and where these specific cuts would come from. Again, the shoulder cuts are very specific, calling them shoulder steaks, shoulder blades. You have the leg, again, a whole leg steaks, leg roasts. Down here, the foreshank and breast area. You do have a couple cuts from the loin, specifically the loin chop, that I'll show you here in this next slide. This is the loin chop. It looks like a tiny little T-bone. So you can see the bone here with a little bit of the tenderloin on this side and mainly the loin here on the right side. So I wanted to show you what the loin chop looks like. This would be a bone rolled and tied leg of lamb. So very often you'll get them already boned out. A lot of times you'll have that netting on there. Very commonly stuffed, cooked, and then sliced down. On the right, I've included some lamb lollipops for you. That's the term to refer to the rack of lamb that is cut down and served individually per bone. On the bottom right are some satays. We'll work with that with international cuisine when we're talking about Indian cuisine there. Lamb is very, very popularly found, as well as in Greek cuisine. You'll find a lot of lamb within their dishes. Here is an entire leg of lamb on the bottom left that is then carved down, again nice for a carving station. And then in the center, these are pictures of lamb leg slices, so that you can see taking from the whole back end there, again, the different muscle segments that you have. We will include some lamb cookery with our meat cookery labs coming up.